Hi eBay students. This video is kind of meaty and detailed, so I don't expect you to remember all of this, but at least you'll know if you come across one of these items that there are very subtle differences in the logo that will help you determine the value of the item. So what we're talking about here are John Deere Collectibles, the logo history, how to date the items based on logo style. Now, obviously, John Deere is practically a household name. They make tractors, all kinds of lawn equipment. That logo is very recognizable with the deer leaping in the air, the green and yellow. The point I want to make here is they go back to 1837 and is a very established and well-known company with a recognizable logo, but it has changed over time. And based on what the logo looks like, that's going to affect the sale price of your item, what you can say about it, because you're going to be more educated now to know there are some subtle differences in these logos. So let's go through what they are. The first one here on the left, 1956 to 1968, it actually has four legs, and this is referred to as the four legs logo. Collectors will call it this, and this one's worth the most of these three. I'm not going to go back past 1956 because in most cases you're not going to find those kinds of items, but you can take a look at the logos here. If you are in a rural area, go to farm sales or come across this type of thing, you're going to want to study this more so that you'll know which logo is for which time frame, but this is more of an introduction just to say, hey, there's different ones and they're worth different amounts. Okay, so this first one here, you can see the antlers are much more intricate. The back legs are really high off the ground, but the main difference is it's got the four legs. Okay, now the one in the middle was made from 1968 to 2000, and this is the one you're going to see the most of when you are looking for vintage comps on eBay. It's only got one leg showing in the front and one leg showing in the back, but again, the back legs are up high. The antlers are not as intricate. This is referred to as the legs up logo. And then on the right, we've got the one that was created in 2000 going forward, and it's got the front leg in the stag position and the back legs are on the ground, low to the ground. So that's the main difference, is the one in the middle, the legs are up, the newer one, the legs are down. So when you're out there looking for things to sell, John Deere makes all kinds of stuff that is not tractors and lawnmowers and lawn equipment. There's all kinds of advertising, manuals, posters, leaflets, brochures, instructions, all of that. You got your tractor parts, so you would need to have specialized knowledge of that if you're going to farm sales or you're in a rural area where you come across that. Clothing, t-shirts, hats, jackets, mostly made for advertising purposes in the early days. You've got different home decor items, and then promotional items, clocks, mugs, bottle openers, pens, all that kind of stuff. Now, not all of it's going to be worth tons of money, but at least you'll know to keep your eye out for this kind of stuff because it could be worth something. So the logo style differences are very subtle, but now that you know, you can recognize that. And again, if you live in a rural area and you're seeing a lot of this stuff, you can study this deeper. Maybe you didn't know this subtle difference could mean so much difference in money. So the untrained eye is not going to know the difference to this. Now you will. And you can always Google John Deere logo history. This graphic will come up and you can look at when the item was made to get more information if it's something that you want to purchase for resale, and it, depending on the price, you may have to think about it. So hats are something I see a lot posted on the Money Making Monday and the $100 sales threads. So if you look at this hat here, John Deere, vintage John Deere mesh snapback patch farm trucker hat, and it's got the vintage legs up logo, and this sold for $188. Now, first of all, the mesh back snapback hats are valuable in and of themselves, but when you put a logo like this on it, that can really add to the value. Here's another one that is a denim hat, and this one has that older logo on it with the legs up. This one sold for $174.99. So if you're not looking at hats, there's a lot of money to be made, and I'm going to be including more information on this. Making one video about selling vintage hats would go on and on for hours and hours, so I'm just going to give you these very specific things to look for that kind of jump out at you. Now here is a clock, vintage John Deere advertising clock, and you can see this one has the older four legs logo. This one sold for $381.55. Now, there are also more clues to indicate an item's age than just the logo, so you want to look at those kind of things, like where it was made. If it says made in China and it's got this logo on them, that's a problem. That's a reproduction. So you want to look at how it's made, the company that made it. Was it General Electric and made in a city in the United States? There's more things to look at than just the logo, but this is what is going to catch your eye and prompt you to do that further research. Here is a keychain, and this is from 1976. I think it had the date on the back of it. This sold for $42 just for a keychain. Now imagine all those farmhouses out there, all the junk drawers in the farmhouses, all the stuff that's in those drawers, and eventually these folks are going to move out. The home's going to get too old to live in. They're going to have to be moved to assisted living, or these are homes that are going on 50 years old. So that's where a lot of this stuff is coming from that ends up in thrift stores and at estate sales, is because the house is really old. So maybe they're going to tear it down and rebuild it, or the people living in it have moved on or are deceased. So all this stuff's out there. We just have to be able to recognize it when it shows up in front of us. And let me speak to reproductions. Keep in mind that cheaply made items like t-shirts are currently being made to look retro using the older logo styles. I'll see these at Kohl's or Target where they're trying to make it look retro, but it's obviously made by today's standards. It's stuff made in China. It's companies that didn't exist back then. So this goes for anything, any brand that has a vintage logo. Things are being reproduced and sold cheap in, commemoration of these brands. So if you find a t-shirt like this, looks really cheap. If you find something that just looks cheap and made in China, obviously that's not going to be as valuable. So just keep that in mind. Like this t-shirt here is only selling for $9.99 on eBay. So you want to look for the better made items that were made in USA before everything started being made in China, and they're durable and they look and feel old. That's the key. See, I told you that was going to be a lot. Thanks for watching and have a great day on eBay. Bye.